2024 was a year filled with a lot of demolition by the Lagos State government. Report says thousands of people were left homeless.
Oh my God! Please post it in the group. Oh my goodness!
These are not just mere numbers, but people like you and I running into thousands were left homeless in the twinkle of an eye. And oh, let's not forget Wike and his grabbing of land and estates in Abuja, which he said he has the legal rights to do. If he can do it for the likes of Julius Berger, then you, as a private citizen, would definitely not be spared if the government has any legal backing whatsoever to take a decision on your property that will make a mess of you.
Listen. Okay. Did you encroach on the alignment for the canal? Is there an encroachment? Yes or no?
Severally, there
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
I'm a lawyer. So
I know.
Give you the courtesy of
I know.
being a public servant.
I know.
Was there an alignment?
Yes.
Set back for this canal part.
Yes, sir.
So Ikate River. Yes. Now, were notices served on these people to abate this nuisance they caused? Yes or no? Excuse me. There were served notices.
So the main purpose of this video is to expose the unfortunate practices of developers in Lagos State that has gone under the radar for so long, which could leave you in a big mess in the future. So if you are thinking of buying a house soon, this is a must-watch video for you. So let's take a quick look at common houses being sold in Lagos. You see, this house, and even this house may look fine, but the one thing they have in common is they are not built to the approval standard. In fact, I dare say all the owners of houses like this were never given the drawings of the houses they bought, which were approved by the state government. You see, typically, when an architect designs a house, he is obliged to give a copy of all the approval standard drawings to the homeowners. And that's how I operate. So, why do houses that cost hundreds of millions of naira not come with such drawings as part of the purchase? Could these developers be hiding something? Certainly, they are. And for most, they are just ignorant and not well informed. You see houses that have something that looks like an outdoor bathtub, which they call a pool, and they use that to charge you exorbitant amounts of money for that property. You see pools that don't have adequate pool decks for safety. Now let's quickly take a look at page 19 of the Lagos State Physical Planning Permit and what it says about swimming pools. It first says, for any planning permit to be obtained, the architectural drawings of the proposed development shall conform with the following setbacks. Subsection H says, where a swimming pool is provided outside the building, it shall maintain a minimum of 2 meters away from the building. And you can clearly see this house is in violation of that act, which you are being made to pay extra millions of naira for. Terrible, terrible building practices. At the end of this video, I will give you access to this building code so you can see what the law says about setbacks used by these developers, which are not acceptable by the government. You see, inside the package I have for you are other important information you need to know about building regulations, so you don't buy a property that falls short of government's requirements. I would also show you multiple approval standard drawings so you can see that you can still have beautiful and functional homes while following the law in order to safeguard your property against any future judgments by the government. You see, most of what is being built in Lagos cannot dare to be built in Abuja. Development Control Agency will bring the building down with so much speed. You cannot cut corners in Abuja. Sadly, that is not the case in Lagos, and that could potentially ruin more people in the coming years, just as the Lord suffered demolition in 2024. So this video is for two sets of people. The first is anyone who has bought a newly developed property in Lagos within the past 15 years. And the second is for anyone who plans to buy a property in Lagos this year or moving forward. You see, I have witnessed first-hand demolition of a real estate property in Lagos, and not for land encroaching or because the house was built on a drainage channel. At the time this incident happened, I used to work for a real estate company in Lagos, and my boss told me to design 4 duplexes on a land which was just about 1,000 meters square plus. At that time, I had just finished my master's from the School of Architecture, Covenant University, so I had all the information of how to design to approval standard. So I began the design, and I realized that 4 buildings can't stay on this land, sir. That was me giving my professional discovery to my boss, and he took a look at my drawings and said, no, you left too much space between the buildings and the fence. And I said, sir, Lagos State government will not approve the drawings if we don't maintain these setbacks. And he said, you don't worry about that. We will submit another set of drawings for approval. I was like, interesting. School is different from real life. But is that actually the case? Or is it a case of some people who try to exploit the system just so they can profit at the expense of others? Because while we had almost completed building the 4 duplexes which I had adjusted to my boss's desire, Lagos State government top official came to the site, introduced himself, and said he would like to speak to my boss. He said what we were building was not acceptable, that the buildings were too close to each other and some demolitions would happen. And like play, in few weeks' time, the government official made sure one of the buildings was demolished. Now, imagine how devastating this would have been if someone had bought the house, let's say, as an off-plan. Even worse, if they were already living in that house when a Lagos State official passed by the building site and requested for it to be demolished. And the thing is, a whole lot of buildings in Lagos currently are built exactly the way my former boss built those 4 duplexes, just like the ones I showed you in the beginning. So it's not a question of if a time will ever come that some of these houses will be marked for demolition or the homeowners are made to pay a hefty fine. It will just be you against the state government, no developer in sight, no agent in sight. But you may ask, why have they not begun such demolitions en masse? Then I'll ask you, what happened that the past administration didn't demolish the buildings and estates which this current administration has demolished massively? You see, it's a game of choice and preference. So Commissioner Tokunbo Wahab has decided to make Lagos free from flooding, and his idea is to demolish lots of properties built on water channels. So you can see that one administration sparing the unfortunate practices of some developers does not guarantee that the next administration would also spare such unfortunate practices. And the question you and I would ask is, but who approved those drawings? And the answer is simple. People like you and I, but who happen to work with government and can be corrupted. So they look the other way because money has been paid. But problem comes in the future when a no-nonsense top official enters power and decides to right all the wrongs. Now that's why I've decided to expose the potential risk your property might have been exposed to by greedy developers and corrupt state officials. I've created a document that explains all the building laws that holds for not just Lagos State, but for every other state in Nigeria. This will help you with future purchases and help you get better deals in the market. I've also put numerous examples of buildings that pass the approval standards and buildings that don't, so you can confirm if you are currently living in a building that is safe from future issues or if you are living in a building that can expose you to Lagos State judgment in the future. The information there would also help new home buyers to see what properties they should avoid and what properties they can buy with rest of mind. For most of you who have previously bought homes in Lagos, you can confirm that the developers never gave a copy of your house drawings and not even a copy of the approval drawings. This just goes to show that the houses bought by most people in Lagos are not approved by the government. And we're not talking about C of O here, approval by the government. So to get your own copy of the building code that tells you all you need to know about buying properties that meet the approval standard, or if you want to know all the necessary details you need to rightly build your own property, then click the first link below. Remember, I also show you tons of drawings which I have personally submitted to approval and have passed all approval tests. So get a copy now so you can safeguard your future investments and retrace your steps if you are currently living in a building that doesn't meet approval standards. Click the Expose Their Secrets button below to grab your copy right away.